The world held its breath for 21 hours. 21 hours that felt like 21 years. 21 hours where the fate of millions, the flicker of a match that could ignite an entire region, rested on the words spoken inside a single heavily fortified room in Islamabad. You have seen the headlines. You have heard the rumors of war drums beating across the Persian Gulf. But what you have not been told is the story of the silence. The story of what happens when two bitter enemies, two nations who have spent decades sharpening their knives against each other's throats, finally sit down face to face and then stand up to walk away with nothing. Absolutely nothing. Imagine the scene. It is late. The kind of late where the city of Islamabad is asleep, buried under a blanket of stars and the uneasy quiet of a diplomatic enclave. But inside the Pakistan Prime Minister's office, there is no night. There is only the glare of fluorescent lights, the cold sweat on the brows of interpreters, and the weight of two nuclear-armed powers staring at each other across a polished oak table. On one side, the delegation from the United States of America, weary from a transatlantic flight, their faces etched with the pressure of a domestic audience screaming for a win. On the other side, the diplomats from the Islamic Republic of Iran, stoic, unblinking, carrying the memory of assassinated scientists and crushed sanctions. And in the middle, the host, Pakistan, a nation that has been called the worst place to be a superpower's friend, but perhaps the only place left where these two giants could even bear to breathe the same air. You are probably thinking, another political meeting, boring, nothing ever happens. But you would be wrong, because this time, something did happen. Or rather, nothing happened. And in the language of geopolitics, a zero is the scariest number of all. When the doors finally swung open after 21 hours, there were no smiles, there were no handshakes for the cameras. There was only the slow, deliberate walk of exhausted men and women towards the microphones, carrying the heavy news that the world did not want to hear. The talks between Iran and the United States, hosted by Pakistan with the highest hopes, have ended without any result. Zero, zip, nothing. But as you are about to discover, sometimes no result is the most dangerous result of all. Because when diplomacy fails, the other options don't just whisper, they roar. Let me take you inside that room, not with the boring bullet points of a news anchor, but with the eyes of a fly on the wall. The breaking news you are about to hear did not come from a press release. It came from the cracks in the voices of the leaders themselves. After 21 consecutive hours of negotiation, without sleep, without a break that lasted longer than a cup of black tea, the United States Vice President stepped up to the podium. And this is where the story gets real. This is where you need to listen closely because the truth is always in the words they choose not to say. The Vice President looked older than he did yesterday. His tie was loose, his eyes were red, and when he spoke, his voice was soft, almost a whisper, but it cut through the silence like a blade. He said, Pakistan made full efforts to reduce tensions between us and Iran. Pause. Think about that phrase. Made full efforts. That is diplomatic code for they tried everything. They begged. They mediated. They offered guarantees. They acted as the messenger running back and forth between two rooms, hoping to find a single sentence that both sides could agree on. But then came the gut punch. The vice president continued, Pakistan tried its best to reach an agreement. Tried its best. Do you hear the past tense? That is the sound of a door closing. When someone says tried, it means the effort is over. The train has left the station. For 21 hours, the negotiators argued over three things. Number one, the nuclear program. The Americans wanted verifiable intrusive inspections. The Iranians wanted recognition of their right to enrich. Classic impasse. Number two, the proxy wars. From Yemen to Syria, the Americans accused Iran of destabilizing the region. Iran accused the Americans of occupying and stealing. Classic blame game. But number three is the silent killer, sanctions relief. The Americans offered a trickle. The Iranians demanded a flood. And as the clock ticked past midnight, then past dawn, then past noon, the gap between a trickle and a flood became an ocean. And then the vice president said the words that sent a shiver through every intelligence agency watching. We are returning without any agreement. No agreement. Not a pause. Not a framework. Not a promise to try again next month. Nothing. When a superpower sends its vice president to a foreign capital, stays for almost a full day, and then flies home with empty hands, that is not a diplomatic failure. That is a warning flare. It tells the world that the path of peace has hit a wall. And when peace hits a wall, the only way out is either retreat or collision. But here is where the story twists. Just when you think all hope is lost, just when you imagine the fighter jets warming up their engines, another voice stepped forward, the Deputy Prime Minister of Pakistan. He did not look defeated. He looked like a man holding a fragile glass vase, trying not to drop it. He confirmed the disaster. He said, "No agreement has been reached so far." But then he added two sentences that changed the entire equation. He said, "Both countries will adhere to a ceasefire and continue negotiations." And then the kicker. The ceasefire will remain in place for 14 days. 14 days. 2 weeks. That is not a solution. That is a lifeboat. That is the universe giving humanity one final chance to step back from the edge. Because a ceasefire without an agreement is not peace. It is a truce. And a truce, my friend, is just the calm before the storm. Unless someone uses those 14 days to build a bridge. And that someone, according to the Deputy Prime Minister, is Pakistan. Pakistan will continue to play its role for peace, he said. But the question hanging in the air, the question no one dared to ask out loud, was this: what if playing the role of peacemaker is exactly what gets you killed? Let me pause the breaking news for a moment and talk to you about Pakistan. Because the soft, attractive, emotional truth of this story is not about Iran or America. It is about the man in the middle, the host, the friend who tries to stop a fight between two giants and ends up getting crushed under their feet. You see, Pakistan walked into this negotiation with a unique curse. It is a curse that history has placed on its shoulders. On one hand, Pakistan shares a border with Iran, a long, porous, ancient border of tribes and trade and families who have intermarried for centuries. If Iran burns, Pakistan feels the heat, literally. On the other hand, Pakistan has spent decades trying to balance its relationship with the United States. A superpower that gives aid, demands loyalty, and abandons its friends when it is convenient. So imagine the weight on the Pakistani Deputy Prime Minister's chest as he sat between these two delegations. He is not just a politician, he is a firefighter trying to put out a forest fire with a garden hose. Every time the Americans pushed for more sanctions, the Iranians threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz. Every time the Iranians demanded recognition, the Americans hinted at military options. And through it all, Pakistan had to smile, had to serve the tea, had to say, "Let's take a 5-minute break," while inside his heart was pounding because he knows what the rest of the world refuses to admit. War between Iran and America will not stay in Iran and America. It will flood into Pakistan. It will drown its economy. It will radicalize its streets. It will turn the next decade into a graveyard. That is why the Deputy Prime Minister, with a voice that trembled just enough to be real, said the ceasefire will hold for 14 days. He did not say it because he is confident, he said it because he is desperate. Desperate for time, desperate for a miracle, desperate for someone, anyone, to realize that the alternative to this fragile, imperfect, disappointing no result is a fire that will not stop at borders. Think about the emotional toll on these men and women. 21 hours, no sleep. The Americans, thousands of miles from their families, facing a re-election cycle where failure is not an option. The Iranians, carrying the legacy of Qasem Soleimani, knowing that any concession feels like betrayal. And the Pakistanis, caught in the crossfire of two narratives trying to be friends with both, knowing that in geopolitics, the friend in the middle is the first one to get shot. The vice president said, "No agreement," with a face that looked like he had just attended a funeral. Because in a way, he did. He attended the funeral of a quick fix, of a headline win, of the hope that this generation might be the one to solve the Persian puzzle. But here is the emotional core you need to feel. Just because there is no agreement today does not mean there is no hope. It means hope is harder. It means hope requires work. It means hope requires a ceasefire. And a ceasefire even a 14-day one, is a crack in the wall of hatred. And if you have ever seen a seed break through concrete, you know that a crack is all life needs. So here we are. The cameras have packed up. The delegations are on their planes, flying back to Tehran and Washington, the hum of the engines carrying the silence of failure. But for you and me, watching from our screens, the story is just entering its most dangerous chapter. The chapter of the 14 days. Because a ceasefire is not a hug, it is a leash, and leashes can break. Let me paint a picture of what happens now. In Washington, the hawks are circling. The generals who wanted to bomb yesterday are now saying, "We gave diplomacy a chance. It failed. Now we strike." In Tehran, the hardliners are doing the same dance. "See?" they say. "America will never respect us. Only strength works. Enrich more uranium. Block the strait." The moderates on both sides, the ones who spent 21 hours trying to find common ground, they are going home to lick their wounds. And the clock is ticking. 14 days, 336 hours, each hour bringing us closer to either a renewed negotiation or a renewed nightmare. But there is a third player on this chessboard: Pakistan. The deputy prime minister did not just announce a ceasefire, he announced a commitment. Pakistan will continue to play its role for peace. That is not a casual promise. That is a suicide pact with hope. Because playing the role of peacemaker between Iran and America is like trying to hold two great white sharks apart with your bare hands. For the next 14 days, Pakistani diplomats will not sleep. They will be on planes to Riyadh, to Muscat, to Doha, to Ankara. They will be carrying proposals back and forth. They will be whispering into the ears of the Americans. Give them something small, a gesture, a face-saving measure. And into the ears of the Iranians, take the trickle, turn it into a stream, show the world you are reasonable. This is the suspense, the knife edge. Because all it takes to break the 14 days is one accident. One drone strike gone wrong. One tanker attacked in the night. One politician looking for a war to win an election. And the ceasefire evaporates. And the talks that ended without a result become the prelude to the conflict that no one survives. You might be wondering, why should you care? You are sitting in your room, scrolling on your phone, the world far away. But here is the emotional truth that the news never tells you. War is not an abstraction. War is a mother in Tehran not knowing if her son will come home from the military base. War is a father in Ohio watching the price of gas hit $10 a gallon because the Strait of Hormuz is on fire. War is the refugee camps in Pakistan swelling with millions of people fleeing the flames. The 14 days are not about politicians. The 14 days are about you, about the world you live in, about the air you breathe. Because when the giants fight, the ground shakes everywhere. The Deputy Prime Minister of Pakistan said the ceasefire will remain in place for 14 days. He did not say what happens on day 15. And that silence, my friend, is the loudest sound in the world. And so we return to where we began. In the quiet of Islamabad. The meeting rooms are empty now. The chairs are pushed in, the coffee cups have been cleared away. On the surface, it looks like a failure. 21 hours, no agreement. The vice president flying home with empty hands, the Iranian delegation returning to a hero's welcome that feels hollow. The headlines scream, talks collapse. And for a moment, for a fleeting, terrifying moment, you feel that sinking in your stomach. The feeling that humanity has failed again, that the sword is out of the sheath. But wait, look closer, listen deeper. Because if you only hear no result, you miss the miracle. The miracle is that they talked for 21 hours. The miracle is that a ceasefire exists. The miracle is that Pakistan, a nation often dismissed as chaotic and dangerous, hosted the most dangerous diplomatic dance on earth and kept it from turning into a brawl. The miracle is that the Deputy Prime Minister stood up and said, "We will continue." Not "we give up," not "it is hopeless," but "we will continue." That is the ending I want to leave with you, not the ending of a movie where the hero saves the day and the credits roll, but the real ending, the messy, uncertain human ending, the ending where you do not get the victory you wanted, but you do not get the disaster you feared either. You get a pause, a breath, a 14-day ceasefire, and in that pause, there is a choice. For the leaders in Washington and Tehran, for the mediators in Islamabad, and yes, for you. Because the truth is, peace is not a document signed at a table. Peace is a decision made in the heart every single morning to choose talking over shooting. The talks in Islamabad ended without an agreement, but they did not end without a path. The path is narrow, the path is rocky, the path is only 14 days long, but as long as there is a path, there is a chance. The vice president said, "We are returning without any agreement." He said it with a heavy heart, but he did not say, "We are returning to war." The deputy prime minister said, "The ceasefire will remain for 14 days." He said it with a tired smile. But he did not say, "And then hell breaks loose." He said, "Pakistan will continue to play its role for peace." So here is the strong, memorable ending. The one that stays with you after the video ends. The world is not saved. The crisis is not solved. But the world is not lost either. It is held in a delicate balance, in the hands of exhausted diplomats, in the corridors of Islamabad, in the next 14 days. And as you click off this video, as you go back to your life, remember this. You just witnessed history, not the history of a deal, but the history of a pause. And sometimes a pause is the only thing standing between us and the abyss. The talks failed, but the ceasefire holds, for now. And "for now" is the most beautiful, terrifying, and hopeful phrase in any language. This is not the end. This is the edge of tomorrow, and we are all still standing on it, together.